Lenny.
Hi, Nancy.
Welcome to episode 108 of the Front Porch Book Club.
The Front Porch Book Club is a podcast that meets twice a month.
We like to dig deep into the relationship between characters and the worlds they live in.
Grab your book and iced tea and join us on the front porch.
Well, Lenny, you want a tennis update?
Oh, yeah. Are you hot and sweaty? Because I am.
My team went undefeated, and then we went to districts this past weekend. Yes!
What? Oh, my golly, how exciting.
We were very excited. There are a whole bunch of women on my team that had never been to districts, so we were just all a chatter about it, and we did not win our matches at districts. But still, it was a great experience. And here's the thing that I want to tell you. I was very nervous, but I went in thinking about breathing and I'm doing this for fun. And after the game was over, my opponent said, "You have such a great attitude. This was so fun playing with you. I'm nominating you for a sportsmanship award."
Oh! Really? Oh, Nancy. Oh, I love that.
I felt like it was a victory, even though I lost.
It's a victory.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
And I did have fun playing. That felt like a good step. I was able to control my emotions. I was able to enjoy the game, and it was great.
Oh, well, you got tears in my eyes on that one, Nancy.
Oh.
I'm so happy that you're able to have a better mindset, the one that you wanted.
Yeah.
This is what you wanted.
This is what I
You
wanted.
wanted to have more fun and not as anxious and more centered.
Yes.
And more able to overcome when you lose a shot. 'Cause
Right.
everybody loses a shot once in a while.
Absolutely.
So, wow, I'm
Yeah.
so amazed and impressed.
The first set, I lost 3-6, so she won pretty handily. The second set, I was actually even ahead, and I had a couple set points even that I could have won the set. I did not pull through on those, and she ended up winning the set. But still, I was able to keep my head in each point, and it felt good.
That's a lot of growth there, Nance.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Really cool.
Thank you. And you were just at Chincoteague with some friends enjoying the shore.
Yeah, I got stung by jellyfish. First time ever. And you know how much I love being out there in the waves.
Yes,
you know,
you do.
With the older kids, bopping around, having my good old time.
Yes.
This was sort of in a little bit in the bay. And I didn't even see one jellyfish there, but the water was warmer. And we had talked about it, but yeah, I got bitten.
How did that feel? I've never been bitten by a jellyfish.
I pulled my hand pretty quick because it does hurt. Like a bee sting would hurt. Ouch, I got stung.
Yeah.
There wasn't a tentacle attached to it. I didn't have to pull anything out. I'm thinking maybe it was a baby, but we Googled, what do you do if you get stung by a jellyfish? And it's like, put warm water on it.
Oh.
So we didn't leave immediately. I'm like, I'll be okay. But the warm water is what made the biggest impact on that. They said, put your hand in water as hot as you can't stand it almost. Now, I didn't do that, but I took a warm shower.
Yeah.
And that is what really made it feel better.
That is so counterintuitive because you think a sting is an inflammation.
Oh, it inflamed. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would want to put it in cool water to settle it down, but no, hot water.
Yeah. So Google was right.
Yeah. How's it feel now?
Oh, after the shower, by the time we had done supper, I could feel it, but not any nuisance than maybe a very mild headache. Like, it was amazing.
That is amazing.
That warm shower, I'm telling you. But we had a great time. It was lovely. A lot of girl laughs, talks.
Yay.
It's the beach. We played pickleball. It's pickleball, people. So we played pickleball and ate out and relaxed. It was lovely.
That sounds wonderful. Do you remember when we used to be on our sailboat on the Chesapeake, and sometimes we'd sail through huge bunches of jellyfish. I don't know what they call hordes. I'm going to call them hordes of jellyfish.
They are. Yes, I do remember that.
And you especially were freaked out by those jellyfish. I remember.
Gross. They're gross. Now, this particular beach and bay area had a lot of horseshoe crabs.
Oh, yes.
Tons of horseshoe crabs. So there's a whole little community of people that go around and flip them on their tummy so they can go back to their go back to the bay, because they come up, they bury their eggs, and then they go back. And then sometimes, for whatever reason, they're not drunk. I don't know how they end up on their shells, and then their little legs can't flip them back over. So the beach people have to flip them back over.
Maybe it's the waves come in and somehow flip them
I guess
over,
the
right?
waves would do it. Yeah. But it was nice because it was a private beach. Nobody was on it.
Oh, really?
It's long. It's private. It's beautiful. It's bay, so it's not the big waves.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you go out there and you just float.
Ah.
And it's wonderful until you get stung by a jellyfish. Then maybe not so much. It's like, time to get out.
That's great that you had a recent shore experience, because our book this month, Catching Stars, partially takes place on Chincoteague Island. What I really liked about this interview with our author, Laura Rudacille, was talking about her process of developing characters. And she doesn't do it through outline or thinking about character arc. It sounds like she just starts writing and the characters develop themselves as she's writing, which I thought was really fun to hear about.
I thought that was fascinating because I would have to lay it out in a storyboard.
Yes.
Like what happens first, second, how each character arcs and changes. And then I would write the dialogue in afterwards. But she just lets it flow. She starts and she just lets it flow. Interesting how all of our authors kind of do things differently. But she's not our first author that we've talked to that does that.
Nope.
So it's very interesting to me to hear how people write.
Yeah. In the writing world, some people talk about pantsers or plotters. And pantsers are people who write by the seat of their pants. Sometimes when people are being more sophisticated, they call them development authors, that the story just develops as you're writing. And then plotters are people more like you're talking about. They plot out the story and what is happening ahead of time.
I like the word pantser.
Yeah.
Well, our author today is an author. She is an event speaker. She specializes in women's enrichment. Laura has written 5 novels and contributed inspirational articles for publications. She's a licensed cosmetologist and salon owner in York, Pennsylvania. For 10 years, she served as a choreographer for a local high school theater department. So I'm just thrilled to have a local York County lady on the front porch.
Let's get to our interview with Laura Rudacille. Well, welcome, Laura, to the front porch.
So wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're so happy to have you with us today. We'd love to hear of your journey to becoming an author.
Well, I think like a lot of people, you read, but you just don't realize that there's human beings behind that. And then all of a sudden, when you realize that, you're standing in a library going, holy cow, like a lot of people have done this.
Yeah.
I never really was an avid reader because in high school, you're told what to read, which always frustrated me. And it really wasn't until being in the salon industry and people are under the dryer reading their books. And there were people reading Nora Roberts. So I started with just picking up things like that. And I got very interested in just her conversational style. I think it attracted to me. And then I realized that she lives very close to me here, right down in Maryland. So not even 2 hours away. So I attended one of her in-person book signings and met a lot of other readers. And then hearing her story of how she wrote her first book, I went, she's just very prolific, but she's just a normal lady who was frustrated with her kids on a snowy evening and sat down and wrote a story. So I wish I had picked somebody who was a little less successful, because it's a little intimidating the way that she produces things. But just the idea that it was possible was, I think, my first little tickle. I have always been a studier of people, but didn't realize that. I just think when you look backwards, like, okay, this kind of makes sense. So my mother would always say to me, you always say you didn't write. For my 50th birthday, she brought me an entire box of journals and writing and poetry and songs and all things that I had forgotten about. So I went through, which of course was really fun. Volatile teenage writing is extra special, and put some things together in a book called Attic Treasures, which was just really for me and my immediate family, but funny because you just are like, oh, when did I set that aside? So I think it was just the idea that it could be possible. And my first book, of course, Labor of Love, was a generational, kind of the big fat Greek wedding meets Something's Gotta Give. But I hand wrote it 5.5 years. And said to one of my clients, this will never become anything because I don't type. I don't own a computer. I don't have any of those things. Throughout that 5 years, she said, start giving me your stuff. So this is a really good friend. And she started putting it into a computer. And after 5.5 years, she handed me a flash drive. I bought a computer and I finished it.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing. Oh, so many things. First of all, I had no idea that Nora Roberts lives so close to you guys. She is very prolific.
Yeah, Hagerstown.
There your clients are sitting under those dryers, reading books. What was it about that you were like, well, I think I'm going to try a little bit of that?
Well, I think my kids were at the age that they finally would be still for 5 seconds.
Okay.
You know, like going to the beach and you stop and you pick up a book, and my son was, toddling. And nobody told me that you don't sit at the beach till they're 5.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
You just chase
Yes.
them. So it was one of those things that I grabbed 3 books on the way to the beach when I was going to finally sit. And now I'm somebody who consumes a book a day when you're on vacation, because you're just like, now's the time to do it.
Right.
So it sounds like you had a natural proclivity to writing that you had forgotten about. What were some of the things, though, that you did to learn how to write? Did you say you went to a workshop that Nora Roberts had, or was that just a signing?
Just a book signing. She has like an annual thing in her hometown. There's one in July. I think that sort of ends her year. I showed up at that just by myself.
Did you read any books about writing? Did you go to any workshops about writing? Or this is a natural ability of yours? Once you started setting literally pen to paper, it just flowed.
Yeah, looking back again at what you do that you don't know is a talent or a gift, because it just comes naturally to you. I am somebody that when I sit in a room, and I have attended a couple on purpose workshops with people, and when somebody asks me a direct question or gives me a prompt, I've got nothing. And when somebody tells me how to do something, it will stunt me in writing for months.
Wow.
So I am a conversationalist, obviously, behind the chair. I realize, and a lot of people would say, I come to you as much for the entertainment as the haircut. And so you don't even realize that you're putting words together differently until people are saying, I've got to write a really difficult letter to my sister. How would you say this? Or I had a great client for years, a retired teacher who now has passed away. And in fact, I named one of my characters in my first book after her. We were that close. But she would say things like, I said this to my son. What did he hear? And you just don't realize that you're doing it. But I have to say, I'm very conversationally driven. And even when reading, I tend to jump dialogue. So no, I wasn't taught how. Not that I've not ever taken workshops. But I think you find your style and voice. And my goal was 1 book. Never thought I would have 5.
So you told us a little bit about your first book. Tell us about the other books. We'll, of course, be talking about Catching Stars. That's the book that we're focusing on today. But what are the other 3 books then that you've written?
Here's the Thing was my first book. After that was such a labor of a lot of years and a lot of learning. And I did consult my 9th grade English teacher and said, I don't have any idea what I'm doing. And she gave me back, was funny, like a 13-page brutal. I think she thought, oh my gosh, she'll never do anything again. And I was so grateful because you just didn't know what you didn't know.
Yeah.
So I did. I called her and I said, this was such a gift. But after putting that down and being consumed by it, literally every soccer practice, you're every time you're in your car, it went off to editing. And now what do I do with all my time? So we had traveled to the Eastern Shore, Chincoteague Island, Virginia, and we ended up on vacation one time when the pony penning was happening. And that was not on purpose. We don't like to vacation with the whole world, and the whole world is there for that event. And there was a little foal that escaped the cowboys. And it was just one of those capture scenes in your brain. And I just thought someday that's a story. So after Here's the Thing was at editing, I wrote Saltwater Cowboy, I think, in 2 weeks.
What?
And then edited it in 6 and then shoved it in a drawer for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So in my love of consuming Nora Roberts, she always writes in series. So I in my brain, I thought that'll be Saltwater Cowboy, Late to Breakfast, Waiting for Someday, and Catching Stars. I had it lined up in my brain that it would be 4 instead of 3. So those are romance. And in the middle there was a book called Invisible Woman, which was me coming into 40, feeling like that woman with all your hats on your head. And again, having this endless supply of wisdom in my salon chair. I love the 80-year-olds. I love all of that wisdom just getting dumped on you. I sort of did a second of women's enrichment. So for 10 years, I did workshops and talks all about we're all in this together kind of thing. So Invisible Woman, still fiction, but what people say about that is it's a celebration of friendship. So it's just women going, this is hard, this is great, who am I, all of that. So that's all of them. Here's the Thing was the first, Saltwater Cowboy, Late to Breakfast, Invisible Woman, and then Catching Stars.
Are they all Chincoteague, the ones in the series?
The goal was for them to be series, not sequel.
Okay.
So Saltwater Cowboy, of course, is during the Pony Roundup, which is having its 100th anniversary this year in just a few weeks. And then the second one, the cowboy in Saltwater Cowboy, is from Montana. So the second book is actually set in Montana. Same, you're getting a connection with his sister. The third book, which was during COVID, and I'm like, I'm going to have all this time. And then I think all of us just went, like, what are we doing? So I actually ended up skipping that one's in the process, and it will be actually Philadelphia with a visit to the Eastern Shore.
Okay.
And then Catching Stars, I wanted to be, again, kind of a little bit of everywhere. Catching Stars was a stretch for me. As far as I like quick plots, I like kind of simpleness, even though it's not. And I just really loved writing that book and felt that it was, at the time, just a wonderful accumulation of everything I've learned personally, writing style. Like, it was a stretch. And I was so happy with it.
Well, let's talk about Catching Stars then. I just got back from the beach, Delaware, not too far from Chincoteague. Did you grow up going to Chincoteague?
Well, we were talking about, we actually went on vacation because my sister is going to have a big birthday. And I just said, the siblings go. So I have a brother and a sister that are older than I am. So we were talking about that. How did we get to the beach? And my mother says that I saw Misty of Chincoteague when I was 9 months old. I have never seen photographic proof of that, but I trust her. But we had a family that was like the saving family when our family hit some hiccups. And they took us to Cape Henlopen in Lewes in Delaware.
Yep. That's where I was just very close to there. Yep.
Yep. I think Wilson and Vinny are singing in the background. Sorry. So they started taking us with the camping, and then it was trailers. We did Rehoboth. Yes. So I've always kind of experienced just that little region, and I love it.
Lainey and I agreed that Catching Stars is a great beach read. This is the kind of book that you can take to the beach and just thoroughly enjoy. But it's interesting because it's not a fluffy beach read book. There's a strong theme of intergenerational domestic violence. Lindy, our main character, observes her father's abuse of her mom, Susie. And as a young woman, Lindy finds herself also a victim of domestic violence. Why did you want to tell the story of two strong women who are experiencing this sort of intimate violence?
Well, I think it's the thing that people don't want to talk about. I think it's the thing that people put in the closet. But again, 30 years in the salon industry, I've had experience with lots of different encounters, and the strength of women inspires me. And I've always been very, very fascinated with broken love and how it makes you change and overcome. And do you decide to get well? And can you trust? And all of the things. I was very concerned about how the book opens, because I am not somebody who reads to the end just because I've purchased it. So I know that that's a hot button to open with, and was hoping people would get through it. But it's real. It happens. And it's amazing to me how often it isn't talked about in a way of overcoming. And again, I fortunately have never had a firsthand encounter with physical. We've all been spoken to harshly from time to time, but this was a different thing. And I do, in a lot of research, personal development that I've done, recognizing that these kinds of patterns of behavior are absorbed usually by the time you're 7. So you can be so sure that you're not going to repeat. I'm not going to this. And you don't even realize that your feet are following that pattern. You don't see it. And then sometimes you're in it like to your neck before you reach for a hand.
Well, I have to tell you that I really liked your approach in that.
Thank you.
Because I think a lot of people don't understand how this happens. But you always said you wouldn't get into a relationship like that. And I thought your writing was so clever to have her blind to that, and actually the reader blind to that, really, because she didn't know this guy. He was just some guy that approached her for professional reasons. So I really thought that was clever. And it takes, I think, to somebody who doesn't know a lot about domestic violence, it allows them a glimpse into not victimizing the person that ends up in that situation, because it allows you to see from her journey, this wasn't anything that she wanted or walked into or was purposeful about or negligent really about. That she had, I guess, some blind spots to herself, but she was like 18 years old. She hadn't even left the island hardly her whole life.
That's when you make the broad stroke decisions.
Right.
Yeah. And for me, pictured her saying, you blame the house, you blame the family, you blame the community. Like, I just got to get out of here.
Yes.
And you don't realize that you're carrying the makeup with you. You just don't take off your clothes and walk away. You're carrying it.
Yeah, I also liked how she didn't even believe her own experience at first when he was first showing those signs of just overbearing control. She was making excuses for him, but she knew enough that she needed to go see Cal and his wife. And when they tried to talk to her, she still couldn't integrate that into what she was actually experiencing. So she goes back. And I think people don't understand why people experiencing domestic violence go back to that partner, sometimes again and again and again. And I thought that was conveyed really well in this book.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that you can know it's wrong in lots of different ways. You can know that it's not good for you. You can know, and yet somehow it's so familiar that it's safe. And the stepping out, like, well, I know that I'm going to be treated this way at home, even if it's terrible. Is there anything else out there for me? And I loved that Lindy had other ways to be celebrated, but also that community around her that was so good, but was unfamiliar. So you get in, but you still have a line of, not quite all the way. But I asked a few friends who unfortunately have experienced different levels of this. And when I was writing, I just thought, okay, well, what's the thing? And I finally said to my one really dear friend, I remember when she was going to break from this person, I remember driving around the Burger King because I said, meet in a public place, all these things. And I kept lapping the Burger King, don't get in the car until the conversation had ended. But I said, what was the point of? And there's a scene in the book where she said she personally was handled firmly enough, like on her thigh, that she thought, wow, this could be like, she just said, the next day I had a bruise on my thigh from fingertips. And she thought, okay. But I think, again, everybody's going to have their bar. It's very complicated. And yeah, victim is the exact correct word, but people that are in that situation don't see themselves as that way, and a lot of times they're very strong in other avenues. It's a very complicated thing. So yeah, I tried to walk the line of it. It is important. It's her foundation, but she has so much else going on and so much around her. So yeah, like I said, this one was a stretch for me, but I did feel like it was very important.
I loved that thread of it. I worked for Access York, the domestic violence shelter, for several years. So this is a subject that's near and dear to me. And I thought you handled it very well.
Thank you.
And a lot of different aspects of domestic violence, like we covered. For Lindy, she escapes some, I think, of her own psyche somewhat into her pottery and her career. And that kind of immerses a lot of her life. She kind of moves away from family and friends, and this career becomes the focus, and she draws people into her circle that are sort of these professionals. Now, we already know that she's keeping the boy Tucker away from her somewhat as a teenager. That's probably a good thing for her.
Yeah.
She needs to figure out herself. But Lindy loses connection and, again, support system to the people back home. By the end of the book, she starts recognizing the value of friendships, how to be a friend, not only for her to get support, but also to give it. As the creator, did you think of these aspects of Lindy, or did these aspects of personality growth just fit into her character as you were writing it?
Well, that's another thing I do with my particular writing style, because I haven't taken courses of how to do it. I'm not an outliner. I usually have an idea of where I'm going, and then I love to just let them take over. I would say, Cal is so funny, and so is this. And my younger son, who now is also writing, would say, Mom, they're all you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't really set out for, again, because I just didn't know where it was going. And there always seems to be with my book somewhere that I just kind of have to stop and take a break. Sorry. I have to stop and take a break and let them kind of figure it out before I can come back to the page. And that's definitely happened in the conclusion of this book. But I have had gifted friendships. I have seen enriching, powerful connections with women where they uplift, encourage, and point out the traits in them that they don't see. And I love that you had pointed out there that she became a better friend. Now, I think that that's something that I notice, that again, and even some of my relationships, that how much am I going to give to you because you could hurt or you could walk away? And I think as in this season of womanhood, you realize people drop in and people move on. But I think Celeste was such a gift to her. And again, she fulfilled a professional role. But I've had people say, not only do I want a Tucker, but I want a Celeste, and I want a childhood friend. And I think that friendship is the greatest star, is often what I say. Friendship is the greatest star. Go catch some. It's taken for granted. And it is, I think, one of the most enriching parts of humanity.
Beautifully said. So for our listeners, you may be hearing some little barks in the background. So Laura, why don't you introduce your two dogs?
Wilson, who's a 9-year-old rescue. So we don't know what he is, but we call him our Eeyore because his mouth is always closed and his ears are always back, and he's very wonderful. He behaves very well. Vinny, on the other hand, is our new addition, and he is a St. Bernard Labrador mix and is a year and a half and is at 130 pounds. So my husband held him a lot as a puppy. So if I start to giggle, which happens a lot, he will crawl onto the recliner until he is sitting on my shoulder, 130 pounds of parrot. Vinny is extra special, but he's a lot of energy, and literally his paws are the size of my hand.
Wow.
I don't know what we were thinking at this season of life to get a dog that size, but we just love him.
So that's great. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, we love hearing them chiming in and being a part of the podcast in the background. That's fabulous. So, Laura, Linda's been to the beach recently, but I took a pottery class a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And I loved reading about Lindy's career as a clay artist. So your passages describing the art of making ceramics were so spot on. Are you a ceramicist, or how did you learn enough to write such wonderfly descriptive passages?
Well, I do think it helps to get your hands in there, whenever you're writing anything and have some firsthand experience with that. So I had years ago asked for my birthday for a pottery session, and there was a pottery artist that lived here. She now has moved out west. And I took a 7-week thing with her. There was a time when my teacher was standing in front of me holding bisqueware and carving into it. She's teaching, and you're just like, oh my goodness. What I didn't realize, that I'm anxious, Nancy, if you had this experience too, it's such an intense thing. Like your entire body must focus, and every muscle, the energy goes into it. So I would be crippled after class. Enough years passed between that experience and me wanting to write this book. And I have a client who is a very prolific, beautiful pottery artist who lives a couple miles from me. And I texted her when I was writing this, and I just said, my character is a pottery artist. Can I come watch you throw? Can I take a session again? Forgetting the intensity of the experience. So my sister and I went for her birthday while I was writing this. So she and I both threw. I was able to ask Jamie Greenwood is her name. I was able to ask her some direct questions and make sure that I have things right. So that was great. But yes, we left the one session and I was fine till I got in my car, drove the 3 miles back to my house, and literally could not get out of the car. Now I have some spinal weakness, but it was just like, okay, that's why I'm not doing this for, I love it, but yowza. But I did have, during COVID, found a pottery artist online. And actually I'm wearing a necklace of hers today. Georgine Novak makes jewelry from pottery. So I had contacted her and asked her if she would do like 35 stars. And then some of my people that came in who like to read my books were able to get a necklace to go with their Catching Stars book. So that was a fun little thing to do.
That's fabulous. You really captured the intensity of being at the wheel and how this creation just seems to emerge from your hands, but then all of a sudden it can go really wrong and plop, 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 it's done. It is very exacting.
Yeah. And one of the things I loved when I was in Jamie's studio, I never realized that bisqueware, even though it's dry enough to move it to the kiln, when it breaks, it's silent. So she was standing in front of me, breaking up things that she wasn't happy with and putting them into her recycle the clay bin. So that was, again, for that one scene, like, how could that happen? Because you have this picture of the demolition, and how could nobody have heard that? It's completely quiet if it's bisqueware. It's silent, which I thought was neat.
Yeah, fascinating.
Well, let's talk about Hayward and Tucker. Two completely different men.
Okay.
I knew I liked Tucker from the get-go.
Yeah.
Hayward, not so much. Now, I am kind of sensitive to the whole male domineering and him thinking he could come in and change her name the very first time. Okay, so my feathers are a little ruffled, but I don't know the New York publicity world, but I really did like Tucker. Who did you like writing more? Tucker or Hayward?
I think you almost can't say Hayward without your face wrinkling up.
I did wrinkle my face up.
Yeah, because we've all experienced, again, touches of arrogance and confidence that is not necessarily appealing. And yet, if you've been raised with manners, there's sort of a, like, you go with it, but you don't know how to find your feet and find your voice. And again, she was young. So the complete opposite in physicality and money and all of the things of her father. So maybe this is right.
Right.
Of course, I knew all along that he was going to have to meet a challenge that put him in his place. That was a wrestle too, not to spoil the end of the book. Who's going to deliver that kind of thing? Tucker, of course, was not only what you hope for yourself, you hope for your best friend, you hope for your children, just somebody who really was good, but still strong. Yeah. Saw her. He's an entrepreneur also. So simple is not complex, and complex doesn't always mean complicated. But of course, he saw Lindy from jump. You know, I love the scene where she swims up to his surfboard and he says, like, I got myself a mermaid. Just simple, youthful possibility, and then steadfast in, regardless of what happened to him in the years that she was away, she was the one. Mm-hmm. She was.
And he waited, and he loved her. Even in high school, it seemed to me he loved her and put her first and just had to wait for her.
Mm-hmm. And shocked by her family dynamic. You don't meet Tucker's family. That's the one thing that's always hard with fiction, because you can't tell everyone's story. And I always had that one or two people that would say, well, where does she go to church? And where did he go to college? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, like, I just thought, and you need to know that, write your own sequel. I don't know. But that's where something I've learned in this process is not to count out the reader, because you are filling in those blanks. You are giving the story a whole level of meat that I don't know about, with your perspective, your experience. Of course, Linda, with having experience with domestic violence, you were able to plug in certain things. Somebody who's been on a surfboard can plug in something else, pottery. I love that the reader is the X factor. Whatever they're bringing, I don't really know what experiences people have with the story, because it's their experience. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think absolutely Tucker was not sitting home pining.
No, he wasn't.
But she was the piece, and the care that he had with her when he saw her, even coming back and knowing that she comes to the island in the middle of the night. She's bought this house, seeing her on the bicycle. That's just a connection that some people are fortunate to have in their lifetime. Some people miss it. I think the world is hard that way. So I often think, did I meet my soulmate? Did my brokenness get in the way of that? Or you just don't know. So I love that, not only that, but her coming back to her best childhood friend.
Yes.
And then also find enriching relationships out in her professional world as well. And Celeste wasn't going to let her go, which I love.
Yes.
Where is she?
Yeah. So, Laura, Hayward keeps sending Lindy to Madame T's salon. And as we know, you have had a career as a salon owner. He always sends strict instructions for how she's supposed to be styled. So 2 questions. As a salon owner, is it fun to show this side of glamour and your life? But second, to me, salons are places where women really let their guard down, as we've talked about. Did you ever consider having one of the salon professionals whisper something in Lindy's ear about Hayward seeming a bit over the top and controlling?
When the escape was going to happen, there were people who were going to make that happen. So I think that there's often a time that but what I have learned firsthand is the person who needs that whisper, if they aren't ready to hear it, it can become frustrating.
Okay.
And at the same time, I'm sure, as you know, salon talk, before she arrived and after she left, there was a lot of scuttlebutt probably in her way.
I bet.
The salon, Madame T's, where she was going, I have never gone to a New York City salon, but there's a certain level of that I think is the business of beautification and not connection.
Oh,
where in a small town salon, I have known people for 35 years. I've attended weddings, funerals, births of children. When you have that generational connection, and sometimes I've overstepped, imagine that, in speaking, like, this isn't good for you. Sometimes you're seeing clients more often than you see your own family, people that come every 3 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. So you are woven in a lot of ways. I love that aspect of the salon. And I love that I'm at a season in my career that I'm only taking referrals. You don't have that cold walk in and you're starting from scratch, that kind of thing. It's been a blessing to know people for that long. And like I said, with the book Invisible Woman, that was a culmination of people sharing things with me. I was not frightened of my 20s. I was not frightened of my 30s because I had seen resilient women navigate coming home to the perfect household and the husband has left and he's been having an affair for whatever long, and illness and horror and children struggles. And you just sort of go, well, they're still on 2 feet. I was not going to be blindsided by anything. And that's a broad, but you know what I'm saying? You're watching it happen and you're like, I can do this. So that's, to me, the resiliency of womanhood. And you just start to appreciate it. And if you're not sitting in a chair in an environment like I am, where you just are getting this infusion constantly of just not just powerful, but smart, but broken and hurting and enduring and championing. And it's a really neat opportunity and just an immersion in just people. And then the longer you get in your career, you know, the selection of people is refined and they're all people you want to see.
Yes. That's great. Was it fun writing those glamorous scenes with the beautiful gowns and the jewels and the fancy makeup and hair?
It's not something that I live personally, but it's just another aspect of what's out there and how I envision those things to be. One of my favorite scenes was when the art school was displaying in Inner Harbor, which is only not even an hour from here. And even though the harbor's changed a lot, I could picture myself. I mean, I've stood in that Inner Harbor and her being surprised that her anchored core shows up. Yeah, the glitz and glamour part is fun, of course, but not necessarily things that I've experienced firsthand. Just think how I think they should be.
That's great.
I just have to get back to one comment that you made. Lindy has some very caring people around her. I'm thinking specifically of Celeste. Celeste doesn't say anything to her either. I don't know. Like, I don't like the way he talks to you or just anything.
I think Celeste would have been really in a hard spot.
Yeah.
Because it was business. And yet she loved her. So again, when the time came, here's my keys, I'm going to walk around this house naked. She was feisty. And I loved that about her.
I did too.
So you knew that there was care, but until somebody's ready, you're kind of tied. I mean, I do think that Hayward would have funneled her out of Lindy's life. Hayward knew that Celeste was not going to.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
From the first meeting, he was looking at her.
He was looking for an exit plan for Celeste for sure. That she was going to be a supportive person and he didn't want her to be there. I definitely got that. Yeah. I think I was taking that novel in the way you were writing it. Like Celeste is seeing it. Celeste is purposely not saying anything because she's picking up on, I can't, it's not the right time. She's got to see this for herself. I will be supportive because sometimes if somebody comes in too hard, that separates the person that you want to support from their support system. So it's tricky. It's tricky.
It is really tricky. And for me, when the apartment is provided, for Celeste to say, let's sit down on the floor and go through this contract.
Yeah.
Like she had her back, but she didn't tell her what to do. And yet again, when push comes to shove, get out of here. It's complicated. I mean, it's a really complicated thing to not be able to step up. I had a relationship recently that, I mean, it was like 7 years of watching and just thinking, oh my goodness, you know, and finally, as we're coming out the other side many years later and just saying, how did you not see? And I still think that there's a little bit of blinders. But again, if you decide to do personal work and you decide to get in there and kind of figure it out, you'll be better for it. The other relationship that I didn't spend a whole lot of time in was Susie and Lindy, her going back to the island for that event. And that was a hard thing I still have trouble reading that. But those relationships, the solid relationship with her mother and Kate and everybody surrounding, there was depth there when you don't know it if you're in it. Like some people are in just fantastic families and they have no idea. You just don't have any idea how fantastic it is until you get out there. So I do feel that Lindy's childhood escape the environment was like everything on this island has to be wrong and everything across the bridge has to be right. Something as just naive as that. Mm-hmm. And then she just really wasn't ready to handle a Hayward and handle her success. And it just balloons. And before you know it, years are gone by and people back home are having babies and time has passed. And that's just what happens in life in general.
Yeah. The people back at the island, we loved those people, those characters. Yeah. Tell us, how did you develop those supporting characters around Lindy?
Well, some of the foundational characters, Rudy and Kate, are in Saltwater Cowboy.
Oh, okay.
Writing them in sequels, not series. You meet some of them. The plan was you would meet Tucker as a supporting character in Waiting for Someday. So when the Philadelphia couple goes to the beach for the day, you're going to meet Tucker.
Okay.
So, now that I've gone out of order, I don't know that I go backwards. Who knows? Who knows what I'll write? So Rudy and Kate in Saltwater Cowboy, he's a fire captain and she's a restaurant owner, and they are the kind of that old couple that sort of bristle up against each other, but are not together as a couple in that book. So I kind of already knew them. And I think that that's kind of the tone that Cal and his wife took on. My personal experience, when our family fractured, I was a teenager and we had couples and families that just came around us and lifted us. Like for them to have a studio on their property for Lindy, a safe place for her to be. She had the grandparents without them being a grandparent. And at the same time, Kate, she would shake her finger at her from time to time. And so, you actually meet more of Rudy in Saltwater Cowboy, and he was a fun character to write. So in my brain, they just kind of live on. Your characters really do become your friends, and you don't want to see any of them go away, which is why I think the idea of writing series books is nice. And that's what a lot of people said, well, who are you writing next? Are you going to write Zach and Celeste? And Zach was a fun character to write.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I just said, well, you kind of, without being with them, know what's going on over there. I don't know that I need to write that. So
yeah, we kind of know.
Yeah. Well, I thought Celeste blossomed when she met Zach, especially. Like she was very controlled and professional. Yes, definitely became a dear friend, but you could tell she's a very professional, competent woman. She was very busy. Boy, she comes on that island, she meets Zach and she blossoms and you're like, oh yeah. I mean, sometimes you do have friends, you see them in a different setting and you're like, well, look at that. I did not know that was in there. Okay, you go, girl.
Yeah. And I love that part of her friendship where then she and Lindy were kind of girls together.
Yes.
They were kind of, and again, not necessarily sitting and braiding each other's hair, but really having that, gotta go, gotta see this. And, and I love the idea of her being that angled bob. And of course I get the hairstyles in there, but again, that polished whatever being like, take me on a boat and show me something. The guy who's just come in from catching fish, but we know he showered. The little hidden secret of him, it makes sense.
Oh, he meets his match.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think maybe you've told us a little bit about what you're working on next, but what's going on with you creatively?
Well, I do have Waiting for Someday is the book that actually should ride in between Late to Breakfast and Catching Stars. And that is probably 3/4 written. My son is a graphic designer, and he actually said to him last summer, can you just make my cover for me? I know what I want it to look like. And maybe if I have the cover, then I'll finish that. But recently, the world has happened. So I took a wrong step in April and broke my foot.
Oh.
And I have just been like sitting, waiting for that to heal. And I just thought, you know what? This is a perfect time to write. So I printed off a bunch of manuscripts that I've been working on. But there's a story that I'm working on that its working title is Chasing Truth, which I love. So I love when I have the title. Chasing Truth is really complicated also. And for the first time, I am exploring writing point of view. Every chapter is a different person.
Okay.
So your scenes overlap, but I get to be all of Sam Bristol, and I get to be all of Kenzie, and all of Jules, and all of Chief. And the scenes overlap. So if you walk into the store and you have a conversation from Jules' perspective, the next one, Sam's picking up with that exit conversation. Yes, I'm working on Chasing Truth. I'm also working on Waiting for Someday, and I'm kind of trying to give myself a little discipline to finish something. The only book I ever had a deadline for was Invisible Woman, and it really helps if you have somebody on the outside saying it has to be done by. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the biggest challenges, and some of your other authors have shared this, is when you finish something, first of all, it takes you a long time generally to put something together and get it to publication. And then even Catching Stars, the very first night of my book signing, one of my people messaged me, I stayed up till 3 a.m. I couldn't finish it. And I'm like, you consumed it in hours. So that can be a little daunting because you're just like, oh, it takes so long. But I love it. And I don't understand why we set aside the things we love. So it's been really nice in this last 6 weeks when I was kind of chained to a scooter and then in a boot, and to be able to figure out a way to sit comfortably and actually write again. But yes, I'm always working on something. It's the finishing part that's hard.
We've talked a couple times about dialogue and how you enjoy writing dialogue, you enjoy reading dialogue. What we haven't talked about is you were involved in high school theater for a decade. And I'd like to hear a little bit about that experience, but I wonder where that's a place where your love of dialogue was honed.
Every art form has the things that you have to have. So if you don't have that visual component, you have to show it in your writing. And if you don't have the sound, my senior year, I was in Annie. I was Miss Hannigan.
Oh.
The choreographer, I don't really remember what the circumstance was, if she had another job or if she was ill. I just didn't feel like she was putting enough dances into the show. So I was choreographing in the wings and adding things to the show. And the director, who is now still a good friend, was like, how much of what ended up on stage was you? And we just kind of chuckled. So she said, are you around next year? And I was going to beauty school. Do you want to do this? So that's how I got the gig. We ended up doing 11 maybe shows together. But I love the things within the things. I think with writing, it's the layers of what you're showing me. You have to fill it in with words. And for me, theater is that way too. You've got the music, you've got the physical person, you have the props, you have all of the things within the things. I had a man come up to me at one of the shows and he said, are you the choreographer? And I said, yes. He said, you choreograph to the bass line and the tenor line. So you got the melody. Everybody hears the melody. Everybody sings the melody. But when you put physical movement to the underscore, your visual experience is rounder. It's fuller.
Yes.
You don't even know you're getting it. It's kind of like a movie. If you ever watch Harry Potter and then go back to the opening scene that takes, I think, 3 pages to write, and it takes all of 9 seconds for the lamps to go out and Harry to get deposited. There's a lot going on that you capture in your eye and your ear. That kind of fascinates me. So the choreography was another accidental gig. I was not a trained dancer. It's kind of what I do. I kind of just figure things out. It's always kind of worked. And I've stopped fighting a lot of that as a woman of 50 something. You just are like, this is just who I am. Take it or leave it. You're done trying to fit into a box or put on. And it's a great season of womanhood. I thought it'd be a little easier because now your body's falling apart and maybe you have aging parents, and no season is simple. But yeah, I loved the experience with musical theater and I loved stage.
Yeah, That's great. I love that.
I love that too. Okay. What's the best way people can stay up to touch with what you're working on?
Well, I do have a website, laurarudacille.com. I also have the socials, Facebook and Instagram. I'm not real active on those, but there's always an email. There's always a connect with me. I do more when books are coming. Everything's available on Amazon. And if you're close or you want a signature signed copy, I'm certainly happy to make that happen.
Ooh, I love that.
Very nice.
Well, we'll put links to all of your socials and your website on the episode page of our website.
Thank you.
It was lovely meeting you, and thank you for stopping by.
Yes, I was so happy to be invited, and I can picture us all sitting on the porch together just laughing and laughing. I love your laughter.
Thanks so much,
awesome.
Laura.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nancy, wasn't she lovely? I say that a lot, I think.
I want to sit in her salon chair and have a reason to talk with her every 6 to 7 weeks because she is so fun and interesting, and the haircuts would never take quite long enough. You know what I mean?
I
There'd
would
always
agree
be
with you that
more to talk about.
we can't talk when my hair dries. You have another client?
That's right.
I have to sit away from you? What will I do? But you know what? She's a creative person. So
Yeah.
I'm always amazed by these people that can cut hair. Like, that's a spatial awareness.
Yeah.
Pottery, all this stuff. Like, I'm like, hey, I don't know how you do it. But at one time, Nancy, I don't know if you remember this. I was thinking of that as a career.
Cosmetology?
Yeah, I can be around people all day and I can cut their hair, but I have no idea of spatial awareness. I think I would have liked it. Like Laura, she's talking and engaged with people all day. I'd have loved that part. Whether anybody walk away with a good haircut, I don't know. I'm not sure about.
You would have learned, and you probably would have succeeded at it if you would have gotten the training. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The color part I think would be okay, but I'm not sure about cutting. Anyway, Laura's a well-rounded, creative person.
Yeah.
She is fluid in all of those fine arts, it seems.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I really liked that she said, I had never thought of before, is when you're a young person, you want to get out of Dodge. It doesn't matter where you grew up, you want to leave that place. What she said, it's because you think by leaving that place, you're leaving all of the negative things that you don't like in your life, but you also are leaving behind good things that you don't recognize. And you think then everything, she said, over the bridge for Lindy, everything over the bridge must be good and everything back on the island must be bad. And so part of Lindy's journey in this story is understanding and recognizing the good things on the island, the bad things over the bridge, and how both of those places have impacted her and what her strengths are, what her challenges are, that she is carrying those with her. And the people that love her, she's carrying those with her. The people who have harmed her, she's carrying that with her. I thought that was really good.
That was pretty insightful. And I think you said that really well. It's really an integration of so many things and her coming into her own and becoming a fuller, healthier person. A lot of insight went into this book. It's deeper than just a beach read. It's a fascinating view of a lot of different components of personality development.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting too. Again, being a development author or a pantser author, she's not doing a lot of book research on these things. She is talking to people about their experiences. She is drawing on her time with clients in the chair and their discussions. I thought that was so interesting too. I tend to immediately go to books. I want to do my research. You will find me in the library. She's much more experiential.
Yeah, she is. Nancy, are you a pantser or a plotter?
I'm a plotter.
Plotter.
Yeah, this is no surprise to
Plotter.
you. No surprise to you. I'm a plotter.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely me. I think this book and our next book are very interesting companion pieces. Our next book is Educated by Tara Westover. This is a memoir that Tara wrote. And spoiler alert, there's some domestic violence in that book as well.
Okay.
No, don't be depressed.
It's okay.
I finished it in 2 days.
Oh, my.
It's Tara's memoir. So these are the things that happened to her growing up in a Mormon survivalist family in Idaho. It is a fascinating book, and I hope you like it, but I'm really anxious to talk with you about it.
Okay, well, I downloaded it. I didn't get much reading done at the beach, let's just say. It was too much chatty.
That's good. I'm glad you had a lot of chatty time, and this is not a beach read.
All righty.
Everyone, thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Our website is frontporchbookclub.com.
Our episodes come out twice a month on the first and third Wednesday of each month.
See you next time, Linny.
See you, Nance.
There we go. That's right.